Cool. Well, now I'm going to turn you over to Steve Provost to talk about environments.
Hi, I'm Steve Provost, a 3D artist on StarCraft 2. I'm going to show you a few videos of some of the new tile sets that we're working on, and then talk about some of the philosophies that we had going into this project. So here is a new installation in Heart of the Swarm. We really wanted them to feel unique from those in Wings of Liberty. So most of the environments in Wings of Liberty have a lot of dirt and a lot of grit in them. So what we wanted to try to do with this one was make a cleaner environment. But you lose a lot of detail on the surface when you take away that dirt. So what we decided to do was add reflective environment mapping to add that missing detail. And it really makes the surfaces shine. Here's a new lava tile set. We really wanted the Terran elements in this tile set to feel rooted to the ground in such a way that it could survive this hostile environment with all the flames and the lava. And you can see some smaller frequency details and small models around the edges. It makes it look a little more alive and occupied by the Terran. There's also a new set of custom walls there with ramps as well. And those are pathable by some of the smaller units of the game. So those are completely modular, and modders are going to have a good time making interesting mods with those. This is another man-made tile set. It's floating in the thick atmosphere of this alien planet. We added a lot of environment animations, a lot of construction equipment and stuff to make this feel like a functional base for the Terran. We also added some really massive cannons there in the background. It makes it look a little more defended and kind of shows off the scale of this massive base. And all of the art in Heart of the Swarm is brand new. We really used very few assets from Wings of Liberty. So I think the overall quality of the art has increased dramatically. Okay, here's a new ice tile set for Heart of the Swarm. Sammy, our art director, really wanted to add a cool ice tile set for the fans. And so we spent a lot of time doing different iteration on ice and different styles and shapes and different shaders. And one of our artists came up with a really cool model, which was blue, cyan, and purple. And we really liked it, so we applied it to all the assets on the stage. But it was a little too saturated, so we decided to dial it back and add some environment mapping on it. And it really brought it into the StarCraft universe and gave it that crisp look that you see today. Okay, so one of the most notable improvements to the art in Heart of the Swarm is our distinct color palettes per tile set. In Wings of Liberty, we would make a lot of assets that would be used across different tile sets. And so if you saw pipes on Braxis Alpha, you would see the same exact pipes on Valhalla. But in Heart of the Swarm, we made every asset handcrafted for that tile set. So it really gives that crisp color scheme. It makes it unique for each environment. So every single world feels like a new experience, and it really gives a specific mood to the player. So while we're working on these assets, our technical artists and our graphics programmers are working hard at giving us new tools and new technology to make more versatile shaders. And so when we need a new material like clean Terran paneling or Protoss glass or Protoss pipes, we'll do a bunch of tests and decide what looks really good and apply that to all the assets on the stage. And it makes these stages look more unique and feel more original to the user. So one of the biggest hurdles we have in doing environment art for RTS games is the procedural generation of cliffs and terrain. So we don't want the terrain, the cliffs, and the environment assets to look like different elements. We want them to feel less modular and feel more like one solid piece of artwork. So we made a conscious effort to create these custom cliff models to sort of make the world look a lot more natural and feel like one piece of art. So here's one of the more larger assets that you're going to encounter in the campaign. This was actually modeled as a high poly model and then baked down to a low poly mesh that you're going to see in game. It's got a bunch of really cool shapes and some fun effects on it. So here's the rock towers, the collapsible rock towers that you're going to encounter in multiplayer. We made all of our rocks in Heart of the Swarm as high poly meshes. We sculpted them and then baked them down to the low poly mesh that you see in game. And this gave a bunch of advantages. Number one, we can make these rocks look much more rigid, and since they have unique UVs, we can actually bake in the highlights and the shadows into each rock, so you don't lose any detail when it goes into the shadow, like you do with some of the rocks in Wings of Liberty. Here's a large Protoss structure that you're going to encounter in the campaign, and the effects in this asset actually would not have been possible without the new tech that we got for Heart of the Swarm. So on that note, I'm going to pass it over to Dominic, and he's going to talk about some of the new improvements to the engine.